Hi, welcome to Unit 4, Day 2. This is Part 1, Introduction to Bonds, and you're going to use the information from this video to fill out Notes Section A on your Week 1 note packet. All right, so let's get started. In the previous unit, Unit 3, we learned about types of elements and their properties. In this unit, we're going to learn about bonds and molecules. So let's start off with some key definitions. First off, what is a molecule? A molecule is something that is made up of two or more atoms connected together. And the atoms could be the same type of atom, that will be called an element, or different types of atoms, and those would be called compounds. So let's take a look at some examples. The first two examples we see are of elements, molecular oxygen, or O2, and chlorine. These two are examples of elements because they only have one type of atom in it. So for example, molecular oxygen, O2, only has oxygen atoms in it, and so it's an element. On the other hand, the compounds, water and methane, are compounds because they have different types of atoms in their molecules. So water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen atoms, and methane is made up of carbon and hydrogen atoms. An example of something that would not be a molecule would be the noble gas helium. Now, helium is not a molecule because, as you see, it's not forming any bonds to any other atoms, whether it's another helium atom or a different type of atom. So that would not be considered a molecule. You can call helium, a sample of helium, an element because it only has one type of atom, but you can't call it a molecule because it doesn't form bonds. All right, so let's talk about bonds. What are bonds? Bonds are the forces that connect atoms together in a molecule. And you can draw bonds in different ways. You can draw them with just dots, or you can draw them as lines between two atoms. The key thing is that they are connecting two atoms. So if you look at this image here, you have an oxygen and a hydrogen atom, and this is the bond that's connecting them. It's holding them together. Now, let's get into the next question, which is why do bonds form? And the reason why bonds form is that molecules tend to be more stable than atoms. So one way that you can sort of visualize it, if you have two atoms here, I have a hydrogen and an oxygen atom, they're going to be higher in energy than a molecule of water, where those atoms have formed bonds. So molecules tend to have, atoms in molecules tend to be more stable and have lower energy. One way to predict that is what's called the Lennard-Jones potential, which plots the potential energy of atoms based on the distance between the two atoms. And as you can see at the bottom here, where the two hydrogen atoms are at a distance that corresponds to their bond length, they have the lowest energy, so they're the most stable. Whereas here, on the other hand, when you have two separate atoms, two separate hydrogen atoms, they're higher in energy, so they will be less stable than the hydrogen atoms at their bond distance. All right, so that's it for this video. The next video you're going to see will be Unit 4, Day 2, Part 2, where we'll start talking about the different types of bonds.